I go to work and I don't even know by the end of the day if if I'm gonna be fired, or I'm so stressed and I'm just like, I don't know what to do, and I'm just panicking, and and I'm currently working in this company, and every day I wake up, I can be there from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and I enjoy being there, because of the culture. They treat you so well, like family. My first day, everybody come over to me and they talk to me and want to know about me and my life and stuff like that. So it's very important. If you want to do a little research about the company, I take my time to do a research before I apply for a company. Don't always go for money at the beginning, because you can get money and don't be happy, and that stress you out and your life becomes miserable. So it's important if you do a little research and you're fortunate to work with a company that has good culture and care about the employee. So that, to me, it's something that you should look at whenever you're applying for a job.
Except for me, one of the things that I like to do is I'm a production engineer, so for the most part, it's mechanical aspects. So we have 2 controls engineers. I enjoy going down there and talking to them and seeing what projects they're working on and maybe helping their projects. So it also broadens my knowledge at the same time, but it's something different than what I do on a daily basis. So it feels more enjoyable, and then being able to go back to mine, at times I'm able to implement some things that I maybe learned from them, from the controls aspect into my area that I might not have before. So that's one thing that I enjoy about our company.
I think I'll reiterate a couple of the different points. The culture being a big one. We have a large company based out of a very, very small town of Effingham, and the culture is a small town feel, despite it being 600 employees, but 10,000 employees employed nationwide. That culture at home office is very important to how we operate, and we do team events and things, as not necessarily on a weekly basis, but at least on a monthly or bi-monthly, quarterly, we get the whole department together and do things like that on a personal level. So you don't just connect at work, you can really connect with the people that you're working with, and it really feeds back into that culture of you don't want to let your friends down, and provide your input where it can be applicable and get exposed to other things. And the thing that I'm learning more and more every day is the diversity of the people you have is going to make your company better, and not think one way. It's thinking different dimensions and ways to think about it, because that's ultimately how you're going to create new solutions to problems that are continually going to change.
It's funny, we tell students that all the time, and I don't think you get it until you're out in the workplace and experiencing it. So it's always good to hear it reiterated.
I got one thing to add to that.
Yeah.
I think that as you are here at school, you're involved in the construction program and the student organization. That's a big key when you get out to get involved in your industry associations. They have events, networking events, and a lot of times that's a good time you go and get to meet and network with other people from other companies, and maybe bowling or drinks or go to the horse track or the race track or whatever. But that's a good way to get out and do something different for an afternoon.
Sure. Our last question for you all is, what do you find enjoyable about your career?
This is not just about your job, but your career that you chose.
Cool.
Yeah, my answer is a little more job specific. I work with individuals who are passionate about the end user of our services. So, big picture, for example, my company may be working with Hewlett-Packard in creating, designing, rolling out, training a giant Medicaid system. But ultimately, who is the end user of that? People in the community that have never had health care, that have a chance now to have health care. Like, how great is it feeling is the work that you're doing every day is helping somebody, down the process?
I would echo that as well. One of the things that took me a couple of years of working at Heartland to realize, but the impact downstream of what I do in our little corporate office of Effingham and building dental practices across the country, when you compound numbers and building offices, you're touching thousands of lives with what you do with building facilities, whether that's building something from a machinery to a building itself. Our dental practices that we build 30 to 50 a year, and hopefully in 5 years we'll build 100 dental offices per year. Those end up having over 6,000 to 10,000 patients coming in the doors on a regular basis. And so to me, it was really understanding our company mission and vision, which originally we didn't have when I started. We developed that about 3 or 4 years ago to be the leader in dentistry. And we actually worked 2 years ago to create a mission for our individual department to be a premier construction management team to provide those services to our doctors and teams in the field so they can do what they do. So it's really, for me, I like having found my passion for what I do and my technical expertise and my leadership skills to support the company mission and vision with what our team is focused on. And the collaboration and the culture that we have within the team really makes me enjoy coming into work every day, whether I have a 8-hour day or sometimes 12 to 14-hour days. I enjoy every minute of it. I don't dread coming into work.
Say, for me, being on the production side, one thing that I do enjoy is being able to take something in 3D, or a concept that I came up with, or a problem that an operator has on the production floor, and being able to take that problem, find a solution for it, no matter how long it takes me to troubleshoot it, and whoever I have to ask for or not. But basically, take that concept, turn it into a 2D drawing, send it to a machine shop and get something back, and then being able to go out to a floor and install it. And then say the next day I get a thanks from the operator, hey, that's no longer a problem, where I used to have 200 faults a day, I'm down to 6 now, so maybe I didn't completely eliminate it, but the operator's a lot better because of what I've done for that day. So I do that on a daily basis, as well as say from a safety standpoint, if they have a safety issue, or if I can find a safety issue on the front end, and prevent it, there's no telling how many people, that may be walking out the door with a finger still on, because I was able to design a guard and redesign a bracket to protect him to where he doesn't get hurt.
Well, our females in technology have the last 2 questions because they're very related, and they're hard ones. So I'm going to go ahead and get those asked so that you have a chance to answer them. Who's asking? Okay.
Oh, what has been your greatest challenge or struggle since graduating?
Related to being a female, being a young female professional, out in the world, is difficult. There's people out there that have this stigma that being young, and more specifically being a woman, you can't bring things that a more tenured man can bring, to the leadership table, and you really have to go out there and prove them wrong with your skills and your abilities to be able to do that job as successfully as somebody else. So that's been, a challenge that I have struggled with, but I think in the long run, it feels sweet to be able to move past that and really challenge that stereotype in the workforce.
I think for me, the hardest thing that I've always had trouble with is work-life balance. Constant struggle, especially when you find a career that you're really passionate about and that you love doing. That's from day one, that was hard for me working for a contractor and coming out of school and wanting to prove myself to the world and myself and my family to be successful. But now, almost 9, going on 10 years later, that I've got a shift in my priorities with establishing my family, and so that work-life balance is going to evolve over your career. It's going to be different in the beginning than it will when you start a family or whatever that may be. But at the end of the day, that's probably been my most difficult struggle coming out of school, having always lived in Terre Haute and going to the big city of Atlanta to try to be independent and be outside of my family's arms and really trying to figure my own stuff out. I put in a lot of time and effort and energy to help myself get to a successful point. And I feel like I've done pretty well, but I'm pretty hard on myself too. But just don't burn yourself out, be reasonable. Your work will be there tomorrow when you do get into the industry. But focus on priorities and you'll have a better success in work-life balance.
Say for me, one of the things I struggle with is prioritizing the workload that I'm supposed to be doing for the day. So one way, I have a safety department. If they find anything, I need to get those things fixed. I have manufacturing that I have to keep happy as well, new products that are launching. I also have a Kaizen department, the engineering department, so the financial department. So if anybody comes up with a great idea, you know, most of the time it's the production engineering department that's in charge of being able to implement the job, you know. So when I first started, I can remember sitting there and not having any work requests. We have a work request system, and I had none. So I can now say that I have 60, and some of them have received birthdays because of the fact, you know, you know, being able to prioritize that, you know, hey, this is not, you know, my priority for the day, you know. So that's one thing that I struggled with, as well as I like to be able to check the box complete. You give me a problem, I want to find the solution, and then let's just move on. And there's a lot of the things that people bring to me that, you know, finding an instant problem or finding the instant solution is not the deal, as well as, you know, being patient. So some of our processes to be able to change, I implemented it, or tried to implement a change, started the process over a year ago. I'm still waiting on, you know, some of that to go through. So patience, and then not being able to check the boxes complete.
I think for me, probably my biggest struggle, and I realize this sounds cliche, but it is truly finding your passion. Find out what makes you happy. Not every day you go into work is going to be, you know, the best day, puppy dogs and ice cream, but at the end of the day, if you can feel like you've made a difference, that you truly enjoy what you're doing and where you are, the people you're with, that's when you know. And as she mentioned, it really is a sweet feeling when you get to a certain point where you say, I'm okay where I am. I feel good. That can be a challenging thing, and you may not get there right away. And I think one thing that's important to stress for a lot of college-age students is that it is okay to fail, regardless of what you may think. It is okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's going to happen, and that's how you're going to learn. And I think that's ultimately how you're going to find out where you want to be.
Females in technology, let's get the last question that you guys have.
What has been your greatest accomplishment since graduating?
Let's try to get everybody to answer that. What has been your greatest accomplishment since graduating?
Let's start. So in school, in the design program, it's all hypothetical. You have a hypothetical problem, a hypothetical client. You're working to create a solution for this goal. But in the real world, my greatest accomplishment was seeing my first project completely done and meeting with the people that live in this space, work in this space every day, and seeing how that truly affects them. And one thing that we're able to do in my field is have conversations with them after the fact, after 6 months of moving in. How do you feel? How do you like it? What don't you like? So those are things that I remember, and I can continue and change that in my future projects. So that was a major accomplishment for me.
I went into human resources because I had a passion for trying to help people reach their full potential and really create a legacy for themselves. And my defining moment, I think, in my career was something so simple, but yeah, very rewarding. I worked for a company where the company decided to do paperless pay statements. So first we were giving out papers to all of our employees, and then we went online. You know, for us, we're like, woohoo, save some trees. But, you know, for this 70-year-old man who's been working in this company his whole life, who doesn't know what a computer is, really struggled with that change. You know, he became disgruntled, his work performance decreased, and instead of going up to him and saying, hey, it's a tech world, you know, you're gonna have to adapt and deal with it, I went up to him and I became a friend. I met with him Thursday before the start of his shift, before the start of my shift, and I taught him how to use a computer. So we built a connection, a relationship. I taught this man a new skill that he never thought he would have. And ultimately, it made him a more engaged employee. So, you know, both of our efforts were a success for the company, and it felt rewarding, and it was rewarding.
For me, I guess it's kind of two-faceted, because I'll really echo a lot of what she mentioned as well, with creating a product or a service or a design, whatever that may be, and seeing the result and hearing and getting feedback on the successes, but also the failures. It's part of the lessons learned process that we go through to really understand what we did well and what we didn't do well. And to see some of my first projects all the way through from start to finish, not having done a dental office before, was really rewarding, not just personally, but to see how people interacted with it and to go and watch the doctors and the teams really function in it gave me a new appreciation for what I did, and to know that I don't get to do those anymore, but to know that I built 50 to 75 of those offices, that doctors and teams are getting to flourish, practices that are making millions of dollars every year, is staggering to me to really comprehend, but it was really rewarding for me to have that experience to interact with them. But on a personal level, career is great, but really I'm a softie at heart, and my personal greatest accomplishment is really being able to support my family with a career that I feel successful with and that I love doing every day. I don't want to be that dad that comes home disgruntled and unhappy, and yeah, I may be tired, but I enjoy and love what I do, and I want to teach my kids to find something that they love and can continue to do over their lifetime and enjoy.
I would echo 100% what you just said. Being able to support your family doing something that you love, there's just no greater feeling.
I mean, I feel the same way. It's always very important to be able to go to work every day and do something that you love. It's fulfilling for me, you know, based on where I used to work and where I am right now. Be able to program a machine from scratch and see it work and get feedback from customers and operators and the plant managers and say, hey, we love what you do and we'd like you to come back for a new product. That is very fulfilling to me, and I feel very accomplished every time I see that. And I talk to, it don't even matter. And anybody that operates a machine, and they can tell me that, hey, we love this, you know, what you did last time. So that to me is very important, and I feel fulfilled every time I see that. And I go on the field and I work on the machine, and you know, they tell me that they appreciate what I did. So it's one of the things that I really enjoy.
Probably one of my accomplishments was when I interviewed and hired in at the company. I interviewed and hired in as a junior engineer with the understanding that I would work under another engineer and basically just help him be able to solve projects or to get some of his workload off of him. Probably within 3 months after hiring in and starting the position, management had seen enough in me that they had decided to completely move him to another area of the plant where he could focus on. So I took his entire workload over, and then so here I am 2 years later, hired in as a junior. I've lost the junior portion of it since then, but you know, I'm the production engineer over the entire phase in the plant. So I have 10 lines that basically anything that happens to them, I'm in charge of figuring out. So for me, to still have 10 lines that are still up and running is an accomplishment for me. So.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, one final piece of advice that you can offer these students.
Nobody jump all at once. Go ahead.
My advice is that I always try to be yourself everywhere you are. Don't try to be hypocritical. You know, it comes back and hurts you. You know, be positive everywhere you go, and just believe in yourself. It's very important. Just always believe in yourself. They're gonna tell you can't do it. You know, I've been there before, and you know, people say to your face, they say behind your back. Don't let that get you down. Just keep going. Know what you want. And it's always important to be passionate about what you do, because if you don't have passion for it, it's easy to give up. So, you know, be yourself, be passionate about what you do, and believe in yourself.
I'd say too, be positive. It's really easy to to get involved with negative attitudes and negative energy, but recognize that and go the other direction. Be positive. Go keep yourself in a good light, because that can be a toxic environment when you allow yourself to fall in with that. And no matter what you do, just know that if you keep working forward, just keep your best foot forward, show that initiative. It'll get better, and stay positive.
For me, I was an operator at Sony DDC for quite a few years, as well as a maintenance technician. So I went from running the machines to physically working on the machines, and now to designing machines at a different company. So for me, the one thing that I would be sure to keep in mind is be sure to how you treat the people that are out there. You know, there's times that I go to the production floor and I'm working with maintenance and I'm working with an operator. You know, just because you've got your degree and the two people there don't have a degree, don't look down on them, you know, because they're the subject matter experts more than likely, because that guy's been running that machine for 8 years. He maybe knows more about it than what you do. And the maintenance guy that's been crawling in that machine for a couple of years probably knows more about it than you do too. You know, so how you present yourself to people, you know, don't talk down to them. Those guys are the ones you want to stay on your side, you know. My tool and die department that makes parts for me, I buy Pepsis for them, you know, probably on a weekly basis, just to make sure. But when I walk out there and ask, you know, hey, I need this right now, can you guys help me? They have no problem putting down what they've got and making me the priority. So just be sure to keep that in mind.
So don't be afraid to be humble.
Correct.
I think my piece of advice would be to get outside your comfort zone. I think it was really beneficial for me. Right after school, I moved to North Carolina and accepted a job offer out there, and it was an amazing experience. I learned a lot from a lot of different people, and I really think it helps a lot in the experiences, experiencing new things and being around different people.
You guys are stealing all the great things. So many of the things that have been said I would continue to echo, but on top of all of that, one of the things that our company does across the entire organization, and I would encourage you guys to, if you don't now, start it, but we do personal and professional business goals. Personal goals on a personal level, what do you want to accomplish in your personal life? But once you get into a career, you're going to have personal goals and you're going to have business goals that the company is going to strive, or hopefully they challenge you to strive for. I know for us, it's tied to compensation for yearly review. So if you're not, and not even writing that down, but maybe you have some ideas in your head, write them down, because it's going to hold you more accountable to them, especially if you make it a routine to look at them on a regular basis. Whether that be monthly, quarterly, or whatever it works for you and your schedule, you're more likely to accomplish what you want to set out to do if you have a clear vision of what that looks like.
My advice would be don't stagnate. It doesn't matter if you're right out of college in your first job and have been there 2 weeks, or you've been in the same position for 10 years. Challenge yourself. Make yourself uncomfortable. I don't care if what you're asking to do is outside of your job description. Learn new things and make yourself valuable to yourself and the company, because that's going to go a long way throughout your career.
Great advice. Such wise